So hello, play the game. It's Ziant again, and I am back after a while with Titanfall. I have made a commitment to this game, either for my own enjoyment, or for you, or for my own subs, but again, as is per usual with my uploads either on my own channel or elsewhere, that is not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about Titanfall, but I want to talk about the philosophy of the designers of Titanfall as I understand them from the work they have created so far. Now, short fact about me, I am an English major, so that means I'm an analytical thinker. I think critically about things. And I've been thinking about Titanfall and what they have done and what Respawn has done with their game. And the first thing that comes to mind, and I think I talked about this on my own commentary, my initial impressions video, but Titanfall, the setting, is set not on Earth, not anywhere near the present day. And so for me, if I link that to how Respawn's philosophy about the game is concerned, they want to step out, away from the modern warfare shooter. Now, Titanfall remains a military shooter because you are members either of a militia, which is a form of military, or the IMC, which is a mercenary group, again, a type of military group. But beyond that and the fact that there are guns that you shoot other people with on maps, it is very much not a shooter in the modern military way we've been thinking about it, because again, it's not a modern military shooter. It can't be. It's set thousands, hundreds, possibly thousands of years in the future. There are giant robots. The maps do not conform to the style that Respawn, or Infinity Ward as they were once known, they do not conform to that 3-lane style. And so my thinking is that there is a philosophy shift. They're trying not only to come up with something new and inventive for themselves and for their fans, but for the genre as a whole. Because again, they've set their military shooter, something that Respawn is good at making. They've set it hundreds, if not thousands of years in the future, in a galaxy perhaps, and on a planet that is far, far away from Earth, in a science fiction setting. Now, you could say that Black Ops 2 and Ghosts have a science fiction setting in a very loose way of thinking about it, but it's not the kind of setting that has jump drives. It's not the kind of setting that has giant robots on the battlefield. It's not the kind of setting where you're double jumping all over the place and wall running and all this extra cool stuff. And so what all of this means for me is that Respawn is trying to take the shooter genre in a completely different direction, much in the same way they did with Call of Duty 4. If you remember, prior to Call of Duty 4, the shooter was essentially set in World War II. Medal of Honor, other games that I don't quite remember, Call of Duties 1, 2, and 3, those were set in World War II settings, because that was the war that was... It was the safe war. It was the war that was far enough removed from the modern day that we could think critically about it and also tell some very interesting stories fictional stories, that is. But the modern war had never been touched. And then Infinity Ward, before it became Respawn, touched it. And everyone prior to COD 4 said, it'll never work. The modern warfare setting will not work, and they made it work. They defied their critics and decided that it would work in spite of everything. The same, I think, could be said of Titanfall. And I think the same can be said for Destiny, because one of the things that's really going to happen in this coming shooter generation that Respawn is trying to redefine, philosophically as well as mechanically, is that modern day is done. We understand it, we live it, we know it. Let's think about where we're going, not where we are or where we've been. And even in something as small as the player character themselves, you can see this philosophy. Because in Titanfall, you know you have the grunts, you have the specters, and then you have the pilots. Now, if you listen closely, the grunts actually have some idle chit-chat that they have around the pilots themselves. And in listening to them, I heard some very interesting snippets. One of them was, one of the grunts said to another grunt, he said, What's so special about those guys anyway, referring to the pilots? And his grunt friend said, don't worry about those guys, man. They're on a whole other level. So where you had in Call of Duty, you were not a super soldier. You were a soldier, a highly trained, specialized soldier. You were a cut and above of the standard infantryman. But you were still an infantryman. If you were in Marine Recon, if you were on the Rangers, you were still part of the military structure. You were the best the country had to offer, but you were human. Something about these pilots, to me, says they're not completely human. And again, this goes back to the philosophy Respawn is setting up, that we are taking the shooter out of its current comfort zone. We are taking it out of the human and adding a bit of the superhuman. Hell, there are giant robots on these maps, and that is superhuman. To be able to interface with one of these things with any degree of ability takes more than most people are capable of, and probably more than humans are actually capable of. And I mentioned Destiny. And the thing about Destiny is that we're going to see a new Halo versus Call of Duty. Because both companies, independent of one another, are trying to redefine what it means to be a shooter game. And they have different ways of going about it and different philosophies about going about it. Bungie, of course, is going the more MMO, world-based route. Respawn is sticking to their guns. They know exactly what kind of game they're good at making, and Bungie does as well, but they're going even further out of their comfort zone. Respawn has stuck to its guns, but still it's trying to push boundaries in the way that the team always has. You look at Call of Duty 4, create a class, the modern setting. It was progression systems. It was so different. Modern Warfare 2, customizable kill streaks, an even more in-depth progression system, more weapons, cooler stuff. Now, years later, Titanfall comes out, and it's the same basic formula. You're on a map, you have guns, you shoot other people, and now bots. But now, there are giant robots. The map design philosophy, that word again, is new, it's inventive, and they're trying to push a fully multiplayer integrated setting into their game. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Share your opinions about the philosophy of Respawn and in Destiny, if that's what you're looking forward to, and I will see you guys on the next one.
Thank you for watching a Play the Game video. If you would like to see more of our content, please subscribe to the channel up here. And if you would like to very much like the video, that would be fantastic. If you would also like to visit our forums, visit playthegame.co. And if you would also like to see our news site, then please go to playthegamenews.com. Thank you. Goodbye.